The small moon orbiting the gas giant was supposed to be empty. At least that was what Commander June Kim had been told during his mission briefing. His job was simple: land on the moon, collect mineral samples, and return to the Earth exploration fleet. The war with the Centauri Collective was draining Earth's resources, and every new mining location helped the human cause. June checked his oxygen levels as he stepped out of his landing craft. The moon had a thin atmosphere, just enough that he could wear a lightweight breathing mask instead of a full suit. That made movement easier, which was good news for sample collection. Base, this is Commander Kim. I've landed safely at the coordinates. Beginning survey now, June said into his communications device. Copy that, Commander. Remember, you have 8 hours before pickup. Make them count, replied the metallic voice of the mission coordinator. June smiled to himself. 8 hours was more than enough time to collect a few rocks. He might even have time to explore a bit. Exploration was why he had joined the fleet in the first place, though nowadays most missions were about finding resources for the war effort. The surface of the moon was rocky and gray, with strange blue plants growing, in patches. June's scanner picked up the mineral deposits he was looking for about 2 kilometers north of his landing site. He began walking, taking in the alien landscape. The huge gas giant filled half the sky above him, its swirling storms visible even from this distance. After an hour of walking and collecting samples, June's scanner beeped with an unexpected reading. That's strange, he muttered, tapping the device. Energy signature? There shouldn't be any energy sources here. The reading was coming from a small cave entrance about half a kilometer east of his position. Standard protocol was clear, unexpected. Readings meant calling for backup and waiting. But backup would take hours to arrive, and June's curiosity was already pulling him toward the cave. I'll just take a quick look, he decided. If it's anything serious, I'll call it in. The cave. Entrance was narrow but opened into a wider tunnel. As June moved deeper, he noticed strange blue fungi growing on the walls, giving off a soft light that made his flashlight unnecessary. The tunnel sloped downward, taking him deeper into the moon's crust. The energy reading grew stronger. June checked his weapon, making sure it was ready if needed, though he hoped he wouldn't have to use it. After about 10 minutes of careful walking, the tunnel opened into a large cavern filled with the glowing fungi. The light revealed smooth walls that didn't look natural. They appeared to have been carved or shaped somehow. June froze. In the HFY center of the cavern was a pool of water so still it looked like glass, and beside that pool, gathering what looked like the glowing fungi into a basket, was a being unlike any June had ever seen. The being was slender, about a head shorter than June, with blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the fungal light. It had 2 arms and legs like a human, but its fingers were longer and its face had large violet eyes that took up almost half its face. No nose was visible, just 2 small slits where a human nose would be. It wore simple clothes made of woven fibers that looked like the blue plants from the surface. June stood perfectly still, not wanting to startle the being. But some 6th sense must have alerted it to his presence. The creature's large eyes suddenly looked up and locked with his. Time seemed to freeze. Then, the being dropped its basket, fungi scattering across the ground. Its mouth opened in what June recognized as an expression of pure terror. The creature backed away, pressing itself against the far wall of the cavern, trembling visibly. It's okay, June said softly, knowing his translator wouldn't work on a language it had never encountered, but hoping his tone might convey his peaceful intentions. I'm not going to hurt you. He slowly raised his empty hands to show he meant no harm, but this seemed to frighten the being even more. It slid along the wall, clearly looking for an escape route. Suddenly, June felt a wave of emotion wash over him. Fear so intense it made his heart race. The feeling wasn't his own. Somehow he knew it was coming from the blue-skinned being. You're projecting your emotions? June whispered in amazement. Are you telepathic? The being didn't respond with words, but another wave of fear hit June, along with flashes of images. Humans fighting, weapons firing, planets burning. The images were like memories, but June knew they weren't his. You've seen us before, June realized aloud. Or at least you know about humans and you're afraid of us. The being remained pressed against the wall, its large violet eyes never leaving June. It seemed ready to bolt at the slightest movement. June carefully reached into his pack and pulled out a ration bar. Moving very slowly, he unwrapped it, broke off a piece and ate it to show it was food. Then he placed the rest on the ground and backed away. "A gift," he said gently. "I come in peace." The being didn't move toward the food, but June felt the fear lessen slightly, replaced by confusion and a hint of curiosity. June's communication device beeped, making the alien jump. "Commander Kim, check-in required. Your position has deviated from the mineral deposit coordinates. Please report status," came the voice from base. June hesitated. Protocol required him to report the discovery of intelligent life immediately. But something told him that bringing a fleet team here right now would only terrify this being even more. He needed time to establish trust. "Base, this is Commander Kim. All fine. Just exploring some interesting geological formations. We'll return to primary objective shortly." "Copy that, Commander. Remember, pick up in 6 hours." June looked back at the blue-skinned being, who was watching him with what seemed like surprise. "I'll come back," June said, pointing to himself and then to the ground, then making a motion to indicate returning. "Tomorrow, I'll bring more food." He backed slowly out of the cavern, keeping his movements gentle and non-threatening. As he retreated, he felt another emotional wave, still fear, but now mixed with something else. Curiosity. As June made his way back to the surface, his mind raced. He had just discovered an intelligent species, one that seemed to know about humans already and feared them deeply. How was that possible? This system was supposed to be unexplored by humans until now. One thing was clear. He needed to return. He needed to show this being that not all humans were to be feared, and he needed to learn more about how this species had come to be here, hidden in the caves of this supposedly empty moon. June looked up at the gas giant dominating the sky and made a decision. Tomorrow he would come alone again. He would bring gifts, and somehow he would find a way to communicate with the frightened creature with the violet eyes. What he didn't know was that the being, known among her people as Yuna, was already communicating with her clan elders about the human intruder, and they were even more afraid than she was. The next day, June woke up early in his small quarters aboard the Earth ship. He had barely slept. His mind kept returning to the blue-skinned being in the cave and those large violet eyes filled with terror. He needed to go back. June packed his bag carefully. He included water purifiers, a medical kit, some nutrition packs, and a few small tools that might be useful gifts. He also brought a basic communication tablet. Even though it wouldn't understand the alien language, it could display pictures and might help them communicate. "Request permission to continue surface exploration," June said through the ship's communication system. Captain Lee's voice came back quickly. "Purpose, Commander Kim?" June had prepared for this question. "The mineral samples show promising results, but I need to verify the extent of the deposits. One more day on the surface should be enough." There was a pause. "Very well. But remember, the fleet moves to the next system in 2 days. Don't make me leave you behind." "Understood, Captain." 30 minutes later, June's small craft touched down on the moon's surface in the same spot as yesterday. He set out immediately for the cave, walking faster than before. When he reached the entrance, he paused and took a deep breath. Would the blue being still be there? Or would it have fled deeper into the cave system? The tunnel was just as he remembered, lit by the strange blue fungi. June moved slowly, trying to make noise so he wouldn't startle the alien. When he reached the large cavern with the pool, he found it empty. June felt a wave of disappointment. He placed some of his gifts near the pool, a water purifier, a nutrition pack, and a small light, and sat down to wait. Maybe the being would return. After an hour of sitting quietly, June felt it, a gentle touch on his mind like a question mark. He looked up and saw the blue-skinned being watching him from another tunnel entrance. It hadn't fled the caves completely. "Hello again, June said softly, staying seated to appear less threatening. I brought you some things. He pointed to the gifts by the pool. The alien didn't move closer, but its large eyes blinked as it studied the items from a distance. June slowly took out his tablet and turned it on. The blue being flinched at the light from the screen but then leaned forward slightly, curiosity, overtaking fear. June pulled up an image of himself and pointed to his chest. June, he said clearly. The alien tilted its head, confused. June tried again, pointing to himself, then to the image, then back to himself. June. A wave of understanding washed over him, not his own emotion, but projected from the alien. The blue being pointed to June and made a sound like June, but with a musical quality to it. June smiled and nodded eagerly. Yes, June. The alien hesitated, then pointed to itself. Yuna, it said in the same musical voice. Yuna, June repeated. He felt a surge of excitement. This was progress. June pointed to the image on his tablet, then to his chest, then to Yuna. Human, he said clearly. Yuna's reaction was immediate. She backed away, fear radiating from her so strongly that June felt almost dizzy with it. Along with the fear came flashes of images, humans fighting, destroying, conquering. No, no, June said quickly, raising his hands. Not all humans are like that. Some of us just want to learn, to understand. His words meant nothing to Yuna, but his emotions seemed to reach her. She stopped backing away, though she remained tense and ready to run. June tried a different approach. He pulled up images on his tablet. Humans helping each other. Human. Families, human doctors healing the sick. Human teachers with students. With each image, he tried to project feelings of kindness, compassion, and peace. Yuna watched the images, her head tilted. The fear she projected began to mix with confusion and curiosity. June's communication device beeped. Commander Kim, status report. Yuna jumped at the sound, backing away again. All fine, base, June said quickly. Still gathering data. We'll return to ship by scheduled pickup time. After the interruption, June noticed Yuna was projecting images to him. Her people, living in the caves, gathering the glowing fungi for food, collecting water from underground streams. They looked peaceful, their society simple but harmonious. Then, the images changed. Strange vehicles coming from the sky, not human ships but something else. Creatures that weren't human but also weren't like Yuna, attacking, destroying. Yuna's ancestors fleeing, hiding in the caves. Then, later, catching signals from space. Human broadcasts showing wars, violence, conquest. June understood. Your people have been hiding here, he said. You were attacked by someone else and then you saw our broadcasts and thought we would be just as dangerous. Yuna couldn't understand his words, but she seemed to grasp his understanding. She nodded slowly. How long have your people been here? June asked, even though she couldn't answer with words. Yuna projected more images. Many generations living in the caves, developing their mental abilities, learning to hide from the surface. Their technology had been mostly lost in the attack that drove them underground, but they had adapted to cave life. June sat back amazed. An entire civilization, hidden just beneath the surface of this uninhabited moon. If the Earth fleet knew, they would immediately claim the moon for mining, possibly destroying Yuna's home in the process. He couldn't let that happen. June pointed to himself. I won't tell the others about you, he said, trying to project honesty and protection. Your secret is safe. Yuna studied him for a long moment, her violet eyes seeming to look into his soul. Then she moved forward just a few steps and picked up one of the gifts he had brought, the small light. She turned it over in her long fingers, figured out the switch, and turned it on. The beam illuminated her face, and for the first time, June saw something like a smile on her alien features. It wasn't much, but it was a beginning. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else, the first fragile seedling of trust. June spent the rest of the day with Yuna, using pictures, gestures, and emotional projections to communicate. By the time he had to return to his ship, Yuna had accepted several of his gifts and even allowed him to approach within a few meters without showing fear. As June left the caves, he felt Yuna's emotions follow him: curiosity, caution, and something new: hope. What June didn't know was that while he was building trust with Yuna, another Earth ship had entered the system. Captain Day of the mining vessel, Earth's Bounty, had been sent to establish a permanent operation on the small moon, an operation that would soon threaten everything Yuna's people had built. June was in his quarters aboard the Earth ship when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed along the corridors as he rushed to the command center. "What's happening?" he asked as he entered. Captain Lee looked up from the main screen. Another Earth ship just entered orbit. The mining vessel Earth's Bounty with Captain Day in command. June felt his stomach tighten. A mining vessel? Here? Why? Apparently headquarters liked your mineral reports, Lee said. They've sent Day to set up a permanent mining operation. His team will begin landing in 6 hours. June struggled to keep his face calm. A mining operation would mean dozens of humans on the surface, heavy machinery digging into the moon's crust, possibly breaking through to the cave systems where Yuna's people lived. "Captain, I need to go back to the surface," June said quickly. "There are some geological formations I need to check before they start mining." Captain Lee raised an eyebrow. "This sudden interest in geology is unlike you, Commander. The mineral deposits are unusual," June said, thinking fast. "I want to make sure they're safe to mine." Lee studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. But be back before Day's team lands. I don't want my officer wandering around when they start setting up explosives." "Explosives?" June felt cold. "Standard mining procedure for this type of rock," Lee said. "Now go, if you're going." June practically ran to his landing craft. As he flew down to the surface, his mind raced. He had to warn Yuna. Her people needed to hide deeper in the caves, away from where the mining would take place. When he reached the cave entrance, he moved quickly through the tunnels, calling out Yuna as he went. When he reached the large cavern with the pool, she was already there, as if she had sensed his coming. But something was different. Yuna wasn't alone. Behind her stood 3 other Nari, all watching June with the same large violet eyes. 2 looked older, with paler blue skin and white hair. The third was younger, perhaps Yuna's age. "June," Yuna said, stepping forward. The fear he had first sensed in her was less now, replaced by worry. "Danger," June said, pointing upward. He didn't know if she would understand the word, so he projected feelings of fear and urgency, trying to create mental images of the mining operation. Yuna's eyes widened. She turned to the others and made musical sounds in their language. The older Nari looked alarmed, while the younger one moved closer to Yuna. Yuna turned back to June and pointed deeper into the cave system. She projected images to him. More Nari, perhaps 50 or 60 in total, living in a larger cavern deep underground. "Yes," June nodded. "Go there. Hide." He made motions of digging, then explosions, trying to show what the miners would do. The older Nari seemed to understand. One of them stepped forward and touched June's forehead lightly. A flood of images filled June's mind. The Nari civilization thousands of years ago, advanced technology, peaceful exploration of space. Then war, destruction, the survivors fleeing to this moon, hiding underground, giving up their technology to avoid detection. When the elder removed his hand, June staggered back, overwhelmed. "You were more advanced than us," he whispered. "Long ago." The elder nodded slowly, then projected a single image to June, a device, buried deep in the caves, something the Nari had kept from their advanced days. Yuna took June's hand, the first time she had touched him voluntarily. She began leading him deeper into the caves, away from the entrance. The others followed. They walked for nearly an hour, going down winding tunnels and through smaller caverns. Finally, they reached a metal door set into the rock wall. It looked ancient, but perfectly preserved. The elder Nari pressed his hand against the door and it slid open silently. Inside was a room filled with technology unlike anything June had seen. In the center stood a tall cylinder glowing with blue energy. Yuna projected images to June, the device creating energy, unlimited energy, clean and safe. The kind of energy that could end the resource wars that had sent humans searching the stars for minerals and fuel. This could change everything, June said in amazement. If humans knew about this technology, we wouldn't need to mine. We wouldn't need to fight the Centauri for resources. Yuna tilted her head, sensing his excitement. She projected a question to him. Would humans use this power for peace, or would they turn it into new weapons? June didn't have an answer. Humanity's history was full of examples of both. Before he could respond, his communication device beeped, urgently. Commander Kim returned to ship immediately. Captain Day's team has moved up their landing schedule. They're beginning descent now. June looked at Yuna in alarm. They're coming now. We don't have much time. The elder Nari seemed to understand the urgency. He quickly projected more images to June. The Nari hiding in the deepest caves, using their mental powers to mask their presence, waiting for the humans to leave. But June knew they wouldn't leave. If the mineral deposits were as rich as his samples suggested, the mining operation could last for years. I need to try to stop them, June said, pointing to himself, then up toward the surface. I'll try to protect your people. Yuna grabbed his arm, projecting fear for his safety. June gently removed her hand and smiled. It will be okay, he said, hoping his emotions would convey what his words couldn't. As he turned to leave, Yuna suddenly projected a new image to him. The Nari, technology being shared with humans, but only with humans who proved themselves worthy of trust. Humans like June. I understand, June said. I'll try to find a way. He hurried back through the tunnels toward the surface. As he neared the cave entrance, he heard the rumble of landing engines. Looking out, he saw 3 large mining ships touching down on the moon's surface. Teams of workers in protective suits were already unloading equipment. In the center of it all stood Captain Day, a tall man with a stern face. June had met him once before, years ago. Day was known for his efficiency and his strict adherence to orders. He would not be easily convinced to abandon the mining operation. June took a deep breath and stepped out of the cave. Whatever happened, next he had to try to protect Yuna and her people, even if it meant standing against his own kind. Captain Day, he called out, walking toward the mining leader. We need to talk. Day turned, his face showing surprise. Commander Kim, what are you doing here? There's something you need to know about this moon, June said. Something more valuable than any mineral. Behind him, deep in the caves, Yuna watched through her mental connection with June. The fate of her people now rested on one human's ability to convince the others that some things were more precious than the resources they had come to take. Captain Day looked down at June with cold eyes. The mining leader was tall, with broad shoulders and a face marked by years of hard work. His crew moved around them, setting up equipment and preparing for the mining operation. Something more valuable than minerals, Day repeated. Explain yourself, Commander. June took a deep breath. He had to be careful. Revealing the Nari directly might put them in danger, but he needed to stop the mining somehow. I've discovered unusual energy readings in the cave systems, June said. They might be worth studying before we start mining operations. The explosives could damage whatever is causing them. Day frowned. Energy readings? Why wasn't this in your report to headquarters? I only just discovered them, June said quickly. I was exploring the caves when you arrived. Captain Day studied him for a long moment, then nodded to one of his officers. Tang, get the scanner, let's see these energy readings. The officer returned with a handheld device and pointed it toward the cave entrance. It beeped immediately, the screen lighting up with readings. He's right, Officer Tang said, looking surprised. There's something in there generating power. A lot of power. Day's expression changed from suspicion to interest. What kind of power source? Unknown, Tang replied. But it's clean energy, no radiation. This could be worth investigating, Day admitted. But my orders are clear. We're here to mine minerals, not chase energy readings. Captain, June said, trying to keep his voice steady. This could be more important than mining. It could be a new energy source for Earth. Day considered this. We'll send a team to investigate the caves while the mining preparations continue. Tang, take 3 men and go with Commander Kim. Report what you find. This wasn't what June wanted. He couldn't let them discover the Nari. Captain, the cave systems are delicate. Too many people might cause cave-ins. Let me go alone first to map the safest route. Not a chance, Day said firmly. You've been acting strange since we arrived, Commander. You'll go with Tang's team, or you won't go at all. He turned to the officer. If he tries anything unusual, bring him back immediately. June's heart sank. He had no choice now but to lead the team into the caves and hope that Yuna and her people had hidden themselves well. The team entered the caves 5 minutes later. Officer Tang led the way, followed by 3 security officers with weapons ready. June walked behind them, his mind racing, trying to think of a way to protect the Nari. The tunnels were silent as they walked deeper. The glowing blue fungi provided enough light for them to see, which the team found fascinating. These fungi could be valuable too, Tang commented. Biological light sources would be useful on colony ships. They reached the large cavern with the pool. June held his breath, looking around for any sign of Yuna or the other Nari. The cavern appeared empty. The energy readings are stronger here, Tang said, checking his scanner. But the source is still deeper. They continued through the tunnels, following the path that led toward the ancient Nari technology room. June grew more anxious with each step. If they found the technology, they would surely take it. If they found the Nari... Suddenly, one of the security officers stopped. Did you hear that? Everyone went still, listening. A faint musical sound echoed from a side tunnel, a sound June recognized as the Nari language. There's someone down here, the officer said, raising his weapon. Wait, June said quickly. It could just be air moving through the tunnels. These caves make strange sounds. Tang looked doubtful but signaled the team to continue forward. They passed the side tunnel without investigating, much to June's relief. The relief was short-lived. As they approached the area where the technology room was hidden, June felt a familiar touch on his mind. Yuna was nearby, watching them. The energy source should be just ahead, Tang said, looking at his scanner. Around this corner, June knew what they would find: the metal door to the technology room. Once they saw that, there would be no hiding the truth that someone had built it. Just as they reached the final turn in the tunnel, the lights from the fungi suddenly went out, plunging them into darkness. What happened? One of the officers shouted, his voice echoing in the tunnel. Everyone stay calm, Tang ordered. Lights on. The team activated their helmet lights, creating beams in the darkness. June felt another touch on his mind, stronger, this time filled with urgency. Yuna was warning him. Before he could react, a wave of emotional energy swept through the tunnel. The security officers dropped to their knees, overwhelmed by feelings of fear and confusion that weren't their own. Tang staggered against the wall, his scanner falling from his hand. June felt the wave too, but he was growing used to the Nari's emotional projections. He remained standing, though he pretended to be affected like the others. In the chaos, a small blue hand grabbed his arm and pulled him into a side passage he hadn't noticed before. It was Yuna, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. What are you doing? He whispered. She projected images to him, the other humans returning to the surface, reporting what they had found, more humans coming with bigger weapons, the end of her people's hiding. Yuna pulled him deeper into the side passage, away from Tang's team. Behind them, the officers were starting to recover, calling June's name. Commander Kim! Where are you? Tang's voice echoed through the tunnels. Yuna led June through a complex series of passages until they reached a small cavern where the other Nari waited. The elders looked grave, while the younger ones showed clear fear. I'm sorry, June said, knowing they couldn't understand his words, but hoping they would sense his regret. I couldn't stop them. The elder who had shown him the Nari history stepped forward. He touched June's forehead again, this time projecting a single question. Would June help them? Before June could answer, his communication device crackled to life. Commander Kim, this is Captain Day. Officer Tang reports you've disappeared in the caves. Return to the surface immediately or I'll send in a full security team to find you. The Nari could sense the threat in the voice, even if they couldn't understand the words. Several of them moved back in fear. June looked at Yuna, then at the elder. He made his decision. I'll help you, he said, but we don't have much time. Yuna's expression changed to one of hope. She took his hand again and led him toward another tunnel, one that seemed to go even deeper. As they walked, June's device beeped again. Commander Kim, this is your final warning. The security team is entering the caves now. They are authorized to use force if necessary. Behind them, they could hear voices and see lights as more humans entered the cave system. The breaking point had arrived. June had chosen his side. He stood with the Nari against his own people. What he didn't know was that Captain Day had already contacted Earth Fleet headquarters. Within hours, a warship would arrive, carrying soldiers trained to deal with alien encounters. The peaceful Nari would be no match for them. As Yuna led him deeper into the caves toward what she hoped would be safety, June realized that his actions had set in motion events that might lead to the very thing he had tried to prevent, the discovery and possible destruction of Yuna's people, unless he could find a way to make humans understand that the Nari were not a threat but a treasure, a civilization with knowledge and technology that could benefit all of humanity. If only humanity could overcome its fear of the unknown. Deep in the caves, June and Yuna reached a large underground chamber filled with dozens of Nari. Their blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light, and their large violet eyes turned to look at the human in their midst. Some backed away in fear, while others moved closer in curiosity. We need a plan, June said to Yuna, even though she couldn't understand his words. The soldiers will be here soon. Yuna led him to the center of the chamber where the elders had gathered. The oldest one, with skin so pale it was almost white, studied June with ancient eyes. Then he placed both hands on June's temples. A flood of images filled June's mind, clearer than before. The elder was showing him their plan. The Nari would retreat to the deepest caves, sealing the tunnels behind them. They would hide for months, maybe years, until the humans gave up and left the moon. June shook his head. That won't work, he said, projecting his own images back to the elder. The mining operation expanding, digging deeper, eventually breaking through to even the most hidden chambers. The Nari would only be delaying the inevitable. The elder's eyes showed understanding and sadness. He projected another image, the Nari fighting back with their mental powers, confusing the human soldiers, making them afraid. Again, June shook his head. They'll just send more, with better protection, maybe even machines that can't be affected by your powers. A young Nari pushed forward through the crowd. It was the one June had seen with Yuna before, perhaps a brother or close friend. The young Nari projected anger and determination. Images of the Nari using their ancient technology as weapons flashed in June's mind. No, June said firmly. That would start a war you cannot win. The chamber filled with musical sounds as the Nari discussed among themselves. June could sense their fear and confusion, even without understanding their words. Suddenly, his communication device crackled. Commander Kim, Captain Day's voice was cold and clear. We've found the alien technology. We know there are non-human life forms in these caves. You have 10 minutes to surrender yourself and provide information about these aliens, or we will take action to secure this moon for Earth's protection. The Nari didn't need to understand the words to sense the threat. Many of them moved back, looking to the tunnels that led deeper into the moon. I need to go back, June said to Yuna and the elder. It's the only way to stop this. I have to talk. To them, make them understand. Yuna grabbed his arm, her emotions projecting clearly. Fear for his safety, disbelief that the other humans would listen. I have to try, June insisted. The elder studied June for a long moment, then nodded slowly. He projected a final image to June, The energy technology, a gift that could be shared with humans who came in peace. June nodded. I'll tell them. I'll make them understand what you're offering. With one last look at Yuna, whose violet eyes were wide with worry, June turned and hurried back through the tunnels toward the surface. He emerged from the cave entrance to find a scene of military preparation. More ships had landed, and soldiers, with heavy weapons, were setting up positions around the cave. Captain Day stood at the center, giving orders. "Captain Day!" June called out, walking toward him with his hands raised to show he was unarmed. All weapons turned toward him instantly. He motioned for his men to hold their fire. "Commander Kim," Day said coldly, "you've chosen to return. Wise decision. You need to call off this operation," June said, keeping his voice calm but firm. "The beings in these caves are peaceful. They've been hiding here for generations, afraid of what would happen if they were discovered." "Afraid?" Day repeated. "Then they're intelligent enough to know that Earth cannot allow unknown alien species to exist so close to our territories without proper study and control." "They're not a threat," June insisted. "They're refugees. Their civilization was attacked long ago and the survivors fled here. All they want is to be left alone." Day's expression didn't change. "That's not for you to decide, Commander. Earth Fleet Headquarters has been notified. A warship is on its way. These aliens will be contained and studied." "They have something to offer us," June said desperately. "Energy technology beyond anything we've developed. Clean power that could end the resource wars. But they'll only share it with those who come in peace." A flicker of interest showed in Day's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. "All the more reason to secure them. This technology cannot be left in alien hands." June realized that nothing he said would change Day's mind. The captain saw the Nari as potential threats or resources to be used, not as people deserving of respect and freedom. Before June could respond, movement at the cave entrance caught everyone's attention. Yuna stood there, her slender blue form clearly visible in the daylight for the first time. Behind her, several other Nari appeared, including the elder. "No," June whispered. "Go back. It's not safe." But Yuna stepped forward, her large violet eyes fixed on the humans with their weapons. The soldiers tensed, fingers on triggers. "Hold your fire," June shouted, moving to stand between the Nari and the soldiers. Captain Day drew his own weapon. "Step aside, Commander. These aliens must be secured." "They're here to talk," June said, "to offer peace." "Peace is not their decision to make," Day replied coldly. "Move aside. That's an order." June stood his ground. "I won't let you hurt them." Day's face hardened. "Then you are a traitor to humanity." He raised his weapon, aiming not at June but at Yuna, who stood behind him. In that moment, June felt Yuna's emotions wash over him. Not fear this time, but a deep sadness. She had come out of hiding not expecting to change the humans' minds, but simply to be with June at the end. She had accepted what would happen. Something broke inside June. Without thinking, he turned away from Day and the weapons, and did the one thing no human had ever done to a Nari. He hugged Yuna, his arms wrapped around her slender form, pulling her close in a gesture of protection and care that needed no translation in any language. Yuna stiffened in surprise, then slowly relaxed, against him. The connection between them exploded into something new. June could feel everything Yuna felt, her fear, her hope, her growing trust in this strange human who would risk everything to protect her people. And Yuna could feel everything June felt, his determination to protect her, his anger at his own kind's fear of the unknown, and something else, something warm and powerful that had grown between them over these few short days. The soldiers watched in confusion. Captain Day's weapon remained raised, but uncertainty showed in his eyes. The simple human gesture had thrown him off balance. "They're people, Captain," June said quietly, still holding Yuna. "Different from us, but people, with hopes and fears, and a right to live in peace. Can't you see that?" Day's weapon lowered slightly. For the first time, he looked at the Nari not as aliens to be feared, but as beings with their own lives and rights. The elder Nari stepped forward. He looked at June and Yuna, then at Captain Day. Slowly, he raised his hand in a gesture of peace. They want to talk, June said. They want to share what they know, but only if we come as friends, not conquerors. Day hesitated. Years of military, training battling with the scene before him. Finally, he lowered his weapon completely. I will report this to headquarters, he said. But until then, he paused, then nodded. No aggressive action will be taken. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a beginning, a chance for the Nari to be seen as potential allies rather than threats or resources. Yuna looked up at June, her violet eyes shining with new understanding. The human gesture, the hug, had done more than just protect her. It had shown her and all who watched that connection was possible even between beings as different as humans and Nari. She had feared the human, then he hugged her. And in that simple gesture, both their worlds had changed forever.